of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Being broadcast live tonight, of course, on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. And on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you like the show. Subscribe if you want to see more. And that little bell thingamajiggy if you want to find out when I go live next time, which will be tomorrow night, by the way. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. No matter how you are listening, make sure you stop in and say hello. And if you have a question, do that too. But no matter how you are listening, make sure you say the hi or send me an email at wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY @gmail.com. And if you want to support the show, you can go to etsy.com/shop/Monarch Mountain Studio with MTN for mountain. Or you can go to patreon.com/TheSpacesBetween. Or if you just want to support my radio habit, that's good too. You can do the cash tag, and that is the $ TheSpacesBetween. Let's see, the call line is open tonight. That number is 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond in the UK, it's 44203-393-2871. Funny thing is, I've been doing this for almost 2 years. I still don't remember the number.
You don't have
I
to.
really, truly look at my notes every single time. Let's see. If you have a moment, you should check out iLife.com. iLife is the official sponsor for Truth Frequency Radio. iLife is kind of like the unleaded version of the ayahuasca plant, combined with the awesomeness of the CBD to give you the best of the best. And, supports all the immune and stuff that you need. And just because, we need all the stuff. That's all there is to it. So hello, everyone. I hope you guys are doing a fantabulous. Mr. Longbeard is in the house, too. I don't know. Are you awake? Are you here?
I was waiting for you to turn. Am I on?
Well.
Is this thing on? Really?
Yeah, you're on my end.
I can't hear? Okay.
I don't know what to tell you.
Alright, whatever. I'm here.
Yeah, Don's here.
And yes, I'm tired.
Yeah, well, you need ice cream.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Hi, Deb. Hi, everyone.
Yes, Julia, he actually does a really good job folding laundry. I just have to go find my socks sometimes because Mini-Me is almost the same size, it seems like. I don't know what is up with the kid that she keeps growing. Yeah, keeps growing. So, what's new in the world? So, Imbolc was just not too long ago. It was the first, second, that kind of thing. And IMBOLC, Imbolc, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Like so many other words in the Pagan dictionary. Just because it looks like it's pronounced one way doesn't mean it really is. So.
Aww. Thank you,
I think they're having fun with you.
I believe so.
So here it is, the first week in February, and the groundhog has come out and has decided that he just doesn't want to deal with 2021, and so we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter. I think that's how that works. I don't know. Anyways, we still have winter coming.
Groundhog I saw ended up on the grill.
Drama actually likes groundhog and stuff. So she Yeah. Anyways, with when we start talking about spring and stuff, all I can and at this time of the year, I'm done. I'm tired of snow. I'm ready to move on. Even though we haven't really had much of it this year, we've had a lot of rain and sogginess and just crazy.
Absolute crap is what it was.
Yeah, it's been just an abnormal winter. Um, it's at one point it was slopping outside, as in everything that came out of the sky was just sloppy and disgusting. And yeah, I know, Titan. I saw the weather today.
Titan, our weatherman from Texas.
Right? Well, yeah, I'm making chili on Monday. I was gonna do chili last night, but instead I did chicken pot pie because I needed it. Yeah, but it'll be chili and homemade cornbread on Monday because single digits. Yeah.
How many flower pictures do you have?
A 5 on recycle, I think is. Yeah,
Lucky
there's.
says turn my mic on.
It is on. Now it's off. And now
Lucky says turn my mic on.
hey, I had it turned on. Not my fault if the technical difficulties are on your end, dear. So,
Tired.
Yeah, Don's tired. Now that Don's microphone's on, he's gonna nod off, and you'll hear him snore.
Probably.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, yeah, I'm cooking warm soup because yes, I'm kind of tired of the cold. Anyways, so yeah, by February I'm done with winter, and all I can think is like, woohoo! It is time for garden. I want garden. Last year I wanted garden, but it just didn't happen, and it turned out probably the right thing, just because. Yeah. And but no, this year, yep, it's gonna be, yep. Hey, Nightshade, how's it going? And so I start getting the seed catalogs this time of the year, and just start dreaming about fresh vegetables in the garden and herbs and all that stuff. And so I got to thinking, you know what? It's time to start talking about gardening, and so that's what we're talking about tonight. Is the magic of the garden magic, because yes, there is so much magic that can happen in a garden. Oh my stars! Not just, I mean, the obvious stuff where you put seeds in dirt, add water, and be patient, and suddenly you have stuff to eat. A little bit more work than that, but that's the basics, and it's just really, really awesome. There's so much to be done in gardening in general, but
Hey, those aren't flowers.
I know there's mushrooms in there too.
Oh, I noticed that.
Because yes, you can grow those too. But a garden isn't necessarily just till up some dirt out in the yard and plant things in it. A garden could be in planters in your porch or on your deck, or pots in your house. If you guys could see the living room, I scored some plants in the last week, and yeah, they're everywhere. And they kind of need to be repotted slightly because they were sad. But yeah, the green stuff is good for you because it gives you really good oxygen. If it's in the house, it also adds humidity. And there's enough stuff floating around in the world right now that pulling all those things out and filtering them through plants is really good. And if Carlton at Pharmacy News pops in, I'm sure he'll agree.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't see him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not here yet.
Justin's agreeing about the gardening.
And poor Justin, Honey Bunch, you live in a crazy state.
You live in a state of crazies?
If you want to move to Idaho, I can find a root cellar for you to put your mushrooms. The rest of it, I don't know. You may need a back 40 pasture with a roof and a good ventilation system. But
just FYI, that root cellar is not secure in certain ways.
Right? Titan asked the question. Do I ever... Titan wants to know, do you ever put plants or flora on your altar? Yes. Groot, actually, ends up on my altar periodically, depending on where I have the altar up in the house. And Groot has real oak leaves now instead of just the little baby leaves. But sometimes lavender flowers, sage. I will use pine pitch sometimes, and all sorts of different things I'll put out there. But also, I have salts, and then I'll put moon water. But sometimes I will also put like mead or wine or something else that I've made. Yeah, depending on what I've got going on. What was that?
That noise just stopped.
I know. I'm happy about that. I just was wondering where it went. Anyways, depending on what time of the year and what I'm working on, I'll put different plant life on my my altar. Yes, absolutely. Because yes, it's important to bring that into your world, anyways. So, yes, talking plants. Tonight, I'm going to talk about green witch, gardening, and all that stuff. And and then, I don't know, maybe we'll talk about the different types of witches, just because, why not? Elaine, you're funny. So, the first article I have here is...
It's just too bougie.
Right? Hey. Poopery spray is a real thing. Poopery spray. Yeah. Poo spray. And, it actually, if you have boys in your... If you eat a lot of fiber or a lot of fiber intake in your abode, then help your commode and use the poopery because, yes, it'll, Nightshade is wondering about the plant cotton. It's like cotton plant, as it reminds her of the hibiscus family. It does?
Don't look at me. The only thing I know about is what we talked about on the portal the other night about spinach being able to email you.
Spinach can email you?
Apparently spinach is good for the brain as well. Yeah, apparently spinach can email you about soil conditions and weather and things.
Okay, then. I did not know that. I'm not sure what I think about that. Yeah, I suppose the cotton flower looks a little bit like a hibiscus. It's part of the mallow family, though. Like marshmallow root. Oh, yeah, and hibiscus is in the mallow family as well. So, yes. Lucky wants to know more about spinach. So nightshade, cotton is in the same plant family as hibiscus, so that's why they probably remind you of the hibiscus family. Yeah, Lucky says you can't just drop a bomb like that and not elaborate. Okay, so all right, so while Dawn's doing that, we're going to talk a little bit about green witchery. So
okay. The spinach roots can detect nitroaromatics, which are normally found in explosives. The plants then give off a signal which is detected by an infrared camera, which can then send an email alert to scientists. Just FYI. But this is the one I thought was funny. Scientists taught spinach to send emails.
All right.
And this is from foodandwine.com.
Are you sure that's not wine?
Mostlywine.com.
Right? I know spinach is good for you, but I don't know that spinach that talks back is good for you.
Well, we made a joke about how, vegetarianism isn't exactly, non invasive to, You know,
Oh,
the
yeah.
different types of living things around the earth. So, yeah. So basically, I told vegetarians to go jump in a lake.
Ooh, Deb, I would love some cotton. She says she's got a lot of cotton fields around her, and she can send a branch when it's ready for picking. Ooh, that'd be awesome. Whining, you guys are good.
You know, it takes a lot of wine too, a lot of cotton.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to pick a lot of cotton to make a shirt.
So speaking of that, before I get into the article here, I was watching interesting documentary on lotus.
Just-
Right. Lotus silk. So, silkworms, that's what you do. You use silkworms to get silk, right? And there's a weaving process.
Sacred to the ancient Mongolians.
But there's one family in Japan, I think, that developed a way to make silk out of the sap from the lotus. And it takes a lot of lotus to make just a single scarf, like 300 pounds of lotus branches, basically. And it was really fascinating to watch, and I'm sure it's very light, it breathes, it's an awesome thing. But because there's only one family in the entire world that knows how to do this, it's also extraordinarily expensive. Very, very expensive. So, anyways, yeah, lotus silk.
So we'll put it up there with Wagyu beef, because there's only one place in the world you can actually get real Wagyu beef.
Yeah.
At $300 a pound.
I like beef. I like steak. I am not going to pay that much for my steak. It's just not going to happen.
Well, apparently corn silk tea is really, really good for you too.
Yeah, corn silk tea is
That's
good for you.
a lot of corn silk. My God.
Well, so yeah, Don's referencing an image he saw. That was basically just the silk from about 3 different ears of corn. I mean, anyways, yeah. Julia, Honey Bunch, you don't want to play in a cornfield because corn that's in a
Malachi.
no, it's not even that. But, Julia is directionally challenged.
It's just because she can't see over the stalks of corn.
Oh, neither can you. They're 12 feet tall.
Depending on.
But yeah, they're
Monocropping, yeah.
it's yeah, real corn is quite tall.
It's not hot.
That's because it's not plugged into a light or sitting in front of the heater. Yes.
Happiness is a drawer full of warm, dry socks, because
Yes.
even if you're wearing socks and they're wet, they're still kind of warm, but they're wet.
The happiness is my bathrobe straight out of the dryer too,
Yeah.
and nice and warm and fluffy. So, yeah, now that we've kind of wandered all over the place, back to kitchen witchery, garden witchery, that kind of thing. Actually, it's more garden. We're gonna do green witchery first, and maybe we'll do kitchen witchery tomorrow. That would make sense, probably. So basically, the green witch is someone who connects more with nature, plant life, not animal life, but plant life specifically, and someone who's really into growing things, the green things, and that kind of stuff. And a little short article, and I'll include the link in the show notes. 5 different signs say, hey, you're a green witch. First one, you're at home in nature. Now, a lot of us, I think, are a lot more at home in nature these days, if for no other reason than there's nobody else there, because everybody else is being quarantined.
Bigfoot.
Well, Bigfoot doesn't need to rain on my parade, thank you. But, just being outside, not necessarily out in the wild, but in your own yard or in your backyard or going hiking and camping, that kind of thing. I love being outside. I really do. I whine about it when it's too hot. I whine about it when it's too cold, rain. I kind of whine a lot in addition to drinking wine, but that's just who I am. But I love being outside and being in nature, and just being outside. Once I get outside, I have a hard time coming back in. Take me to the lake. I have a hard time getting out of the water just because I'm outside and I don't want to go inside. And yeah. So if you in your daily life really need to go and recharge somewhere and you need to connect with animal or the plant life, you're probably a green witch of some sort or have some green witch tendencies. I consider myself an intuitive witch, so I'm a little bit of everything because I pull from where I need to pull, but green witchery is a big deal. Yes, sure, yeah, you can be a nocturnal witch drawn to the night. You vampire, you Deb, but I think that pull or drive to connect with nature, to walk with the just be outside and connect with the trees. When things start greening up, Minnie and I, we will go circle around the yard. We look at all the different trees and we look at the buds that are forming, the flowers that are forming, that kind of thing. And like there's a plum tree, so we talk about the plums and how they're growing and how to prune. That poor plum tree really needs to have a spruce tree pruned out of it.
That tree is old.
Yes. We should probably take some cuttings and see if we can get them to sprout. Put them in a potato. Let's see, real quick. Titan asked a question. Are y'all thinking of planting something you haven't before, or same things as usual? Probably the same things as usual, but I would really like to expand on the herb garden a bit. Mostly because I like a lot of herbal teas, and there's a lot of medicinal qualities in so many of those herbal teas and tinctures and such. And I don't know if y'all look at the news at all. I don't recommend it, but if you catch the headlines every so often, or you are checking on stuff, having a good kitchen garden of some sort with herbs that you can dry and have put away, that might be a good idea. Because seasoning goes a long way. Salt is good, but sometimes you need seasoning more than anything else, and there's a lot of medicinal value to that. Like right now I'm drinking a raspberry hibiscus tea because yes, so hibiscus is on the mind tonight. If I could get a raspberry plant to grow, I'd be totally tickled. Tried it 3 years in a row. Grr.
There's wild paisley. There's wild raspberries down there, but they're just vines.
Yeah, and they do get fruit on them, but the fruit are
eaten by the
deer and rabbits and all that stuff. So yeah, I think drying the plants and making the salves and putting stuff away for the next year or two might be a really good thing. So if you have a chance to get some carrier oils or a little bit extra vodka to make your tinctures, probably a good thing. And if you have extra plants, sometimes you can trade those off. Plants are very barterable, so
well, that's like Lucky just said. I'll go ahead and say it. It would be a folly not to start drying herbs for the future.
Yep. Deb was trying to grow some herbs, and her husband, Trump,
took it over.
Yeah, took it over. So now that we have, you're funny, Justin. Now that the septic system is sorted out, maybe we can put some grass in there and have like yard. But yeah, there's a couple different places for gardening that that need to be done.
Yes.
Yes.
Black. We have 3 in our yard.
So Nightshade asks, what of drying herbs in a paper bag that is hanging? Thoughts? So hanging herbs to dry I think is very good. I would do it in a paper bag, especially if you have pets. Because
Especially if it's mint.
yeah, because there's there's some, well, most of your herbs, if you want to cook with them, you really probably don't want cat hair in there. And it's a good way to keep spiders out, or bugs in general, because, for instance, if you're trying to make dandelion tea, there are so many bugs that are in the little dandelion flowers. It's kind of frustrating. But, yeah, a way to protect your stuff as it's drying, yes. Paper sacks are good. Absolutely. And guess what? It's our first break already.
Lucky, you could just use not just the hulls, but you can just use the leaves from that as well.
I'll talk about that when we come back. See you in a minute. Hello, my lovelies. Did I forget to turn me on? No, I'm just not very loud. Hello.
That's a Robert Palmer song.
Okay. Yes, it is. I had to stop and think about that for a moment. So hi. This is Paisley Wild. We're off adventuring in the spaces between. We're talking about green witchery, and yeah, just before break, Don mentioned walnut. It's not just the nuts themselves, but also, so like the leaves from the walnut make a very, very good tincture. It's good for skin irritation, by the way. You know someone who has psoriasis, and she uses it, and it often takes a couple applications, but it dries everything out and clears everything up. And just have to keep remembering to use it daily rather than, oh, hey, everything's better. Stop using it and then, oh, shoot, everything's back and have to reuse it. So, yeah, it's just one of those things. And, you know, the hole on the outside of the walnut, not the walnut shell itself, but the outside, that one dried and ground up. Where do you think your walnut stain comes from?
Do you know how stinking expensive walnut stain is?
Yeah, they sell it by the ounce.
Yeah, well,
or gram.
yeah.
No, by the gram, isn't
They
it?
sell they sell it by the ounce because it's like an ounce like an ounce to 2 cups to make a pint of stain.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Well, 2 cups is a pint.
Yeah. And then the walnuts, you know, which are a really good, yummy food source. So, yeah.
Black walnuts, however, they don't have a lot of meat in them.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
So, yeah. Don't you mix it with alcohol? How do you make it with a stain?
3 different kinds of stains you can make with it. You can use a water base, an oil base, and an alcohol base.
So, water, oil, alcohol.
Well, when I'm picking up, 25-gallon buckets of walnuts every fall.
Mm-hmm. Before the deer get them.
That's a lot of
That is a lot.
money that could be made.
Yep. Just like acorns. Although the oak tree in the backyard didn't really spit out very many acorns last year.
I've never seen many acorns come off that thing.
Although the deer really like the acorns a lot. So, anyways, yeah, when it comes to green witchery, a lot of times, or those things that we use as elements in our crafting, we can wildcraft too. It's not just the things that we grow. So, lucky you take the whole, you dry it, you grind it, and it's whole, Hull. You dry it, you grind it, and then, yeah. So, let's see. Item number 2 on the list that says, hey, you're a green witch, or you might be, is you want to adopt every plant you see. I have to tell you, if I walk into Walmart, which I hate doing anyways, but if I walk into Walmart and there's the discounted plant section, I have a really hard time walking by because I feel bad for all of those plants that have been just abused and neglected, and I want to rescue them. So I try really hard not to go in that section because apparently I'm a bleeding heart for dying bleeding hearts. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For bleeding hearts and pansies.
Yep. Hey, what's wrong with those? You can eat pansies. So do I need to throw things at you?
I do what you will.
Okay. Murray Bond needs bonsai trees.
Bonsai walnut trees.
Bonsai walnuts. Bonsai. Yeah. So yeah, if you've got this insane desire to adopt all the plants, I get it. Or if you start plants or seeds for your garden and you find that you only needed about 10% of what you actually started, yeah, that's a real thing. And that's good for trade, good for barter. Because especially if you go to like a farmer's market and you've got a bunch of starts, like, hey, I really need the basil because my basil didn't start, but I've got some lavender. Would you like to trade? They might. I won't say they will, but farmers markets are good places for that kind of thing. Now, if you don't have a natural green thumb, and not everybody does, it's okay. Sometimes you have to start off slow. There's a lot of garden clubs all over the U.S. They're everywhere. My grandmother was president of the garden club for the longest time, but then she also had this huge garden that she insisted on weeding, even when she was on oxygen. She'd put a little spacer in her door so the screen door wouldn't shut on her oxygen hose. Then she'd just go out and weed and everything. Yeah, love it. You can learn how to be a good gardener. It's not something that comes naturally to everybody. But if you do feel that need to do and learn how to garden and grow things, don't be afraid to start. You have a terrarium, have houseplants. If you're forgetting to water stuff, we've got most everybody has a cell phone these days, or access to the internet, or even a paper calendar. Write it on your calendar, put a note, give yourself an alarm for a pop-up. Hey, water the aloe. Yes, it's a succulent. Yes, it's from the desert. It still needs water. So, and honestly, moon water is a really good thing to add to your plants. They love it. They love that extra energy. Same with Epsom salt water. So you just want to make sure your pH is correct when you're putting on all that stuff and helping your garden grow. Plant lore intrigues you and fascinates you. Yeah. If you are just attracted to magazines like, say, Better Homes and Gardens, or nature garden books or whatever, I can look at my bookshelf over there, and container gardening's a big one that I've got over there, and a couple other gardening books. The other direction. It's because I love to garden. There's a local lady here. Her name is Doreen Shababy, Shababy. She has a book. Yeah, big book of gardening skills. Hey, don't knock it till you read it.
It's brand new. Do we have? Where is
Doreen's is over here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Wild and Weedy Apothecary. She talks about wildcrafting and stuff, and different plants that grow wild here in the Pacific Northwest, and using them for apothecary purposes. Justin, that's not bad. Justin says, I believe deep down we are natural gardeners and we just overcomplicate things. Mm-hmm. Yep, there is a COVID.
Corvid. Oh my God. I think I've lost my taste.
There's a Corvid on my camera. Don's camera.
There's a COVID.
There's a Corvid. Yes.
Gosh.
The other one's next to it. Our local library has a seed library as well, and if you bring in seeds to exchange that you have raised yourself and kept for or grown yourself and then harvested and such, they will trade you seeds. So if you have stuff that you need to trade because you have too many seeds, then that's a big deal. So these raven paintings that y'all are seeing on YouTube, they are done by Kathleen Pearson. We call her Kat. So if you see her in the chat, say hi. She kind of broke her foot and has been painting because she can't wander away too much. Yeah. So you think happy thoughts, happy healing thoughts. Actually, I need to get some bone set. Skull cap. That's what it is. It's good for bone set and skull cap. In a tea. They're good. Comfrey. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's a lot of natural herbs and such that grow all over the place that are just good for you. They have a lot of good minerals to them, good nutrition to them, good energy to them that help you. I mean, bone set or comfrey is really good to help your bones heal. Just in general, we have a lot of horsetail fern. Horsetail is very full of silica, and the horsetail fern is very, very good for your joints and such. And it's pretty fabulous. The number 4 here is seasons fascinate you. So if you enjoy all the seasons. Like right now, technically it is still winter, even though spring is, what, 4 weeks away roughly?
Apparently
5
it's
weeks?
6 weeks away, you said.
The official first day of spring. Spring equinox is not that far away.
Mm,
It's just screaming right up already.
that's true.
Yeah,
it's just next month.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Mullein, yeah, there's a lot of mullein around here. Right now it's like, woohoo, I like winter, I love winter. But by the time winter is just about done, I'm ready for spring. And by the time we're about halfway through the mud of spring, I am ready for summer because I want things to be growing and I want the plums to be done. And yes. And then the heat of the summer is like, I can't wait for fall because holy cow, I need the fall because I want it to freeze and kill off the mosquitoes. And I love October. And yes. And then suddenly it's like, woohoo, crisp fall days and I'm ready for winter. So yeah, it keeps going and going and going. Oh no, Nightshade lost some basil to cold weather. Yeah, that's the other thing. You need to plant according to your zones and where you're at. And if you need a hardier stock, or something that's a little cold weather tolerant, you should probably get cold weather tolerant. It's like, for instance, as much as I think lotus is beautiful, that's one of those things that I can only grow in the house because if I tried to put it outside, it probably wouldn't grow. And there's other things that just aren't going to grow here because of our elevation and our local microclimate
Issues.
Issues, yeah. I really need a wallapini. A wallapini is one of those underground greenhouses. Basically, the walls are underground and the roof is on top.
On fire.
And yeah. Speaking of wallapini, hello, Oregon. You are on the air. Hello.
Am I there?
You're
Yes.
here.
Yes, you're here. Hi. How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. It's kind of distorted on my end. You guys are really
I haven't touched any buttons.
it's hard to explain.
Dawn is going to come around and look and see if there's any buttons that need to be adjusted.
You need to stop moving.
I don't move
It's good
those.
talking,
I'm
Justin.
talking just. Hi, Justin. How are you? Do you come here often?
I'm doing I'm doing good. I thought I really should call in and because you're talking about everything that we do here.
Mm-hmm. Now, you guys.
I'm not as versed on the
What's that?
sorry.
It's a little bit of a lag, yeah.
I was just going to say I'm not quite as versed on the spiritual end of it. I kind of depend on you guys to teach me all of that. I'm kind of new to a lot of the pagan aspects of it all, but we that's all we do is grow life around here. We use everything that's around us. All of the things you were talking about, the clover, the comfrey, we grow lavender and sage and everything. And even if it's considered a weed or it's an undesirable plant, we ferment it and we feed it to the other plants, like the horsetail and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We don't necessarily use it, but we feed it to the other plants as a nutrient,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all super easy to do. I mean, I can't believe that most of this knowledge has been so suppressed that people don't even understand that, they're killing their own natural nutrients that are growing on their property with Roundup, a Monsanto product or whatever, and destroying everything around them.
Yeah, it's the average individual, and I'm just going to put it as that the average individual isn't really paying attention to a lot of the harmful side effects of so much of the Roundup or the neonicotinoids or or things like that they think are good because they're killing off, the pesky bugs, or they're killing off the pesky weeds. And they forget that so many of those chemicals transfer other places. They get in our food, they get in our water. They kill off other things that, I mean, I would love to get rid of the mosquitoes because I loathe mosquitoes, and Mini-Me is really allergic. But the frogs need them, the spiders need those mosquitoes, and the swallows need them. I mean, they're part of the ecological microcosm that we have here. And we're spitting distance from the river. And I'd hate to have something that goes on our yard or on the garden, accidentally get washed into the river and farm that ecosystem. That would just be really, really bad. So, yeah. Educate yourself. There's other ways to get rid of pests.
I mean, people always think of it like when I was saying that things are overcomplicated often earlier, I was referring to basically how people are afraid to grow and garden and everything because they think it's so complicated and all this, and it's not complicated at all. You just think about nature and think about how that plant would grow in nature. Mm-hmm. Put some worms in your soil and feed those worms some whatever, some kind of leafy product, food on top of that. If you have a compost bin in your kitchen that you just throw your vegetation in, or whatever, just put that right on the garden. The worms and all the microbes and everything in the soil, all the arthropods will come up and eat that, and they will naturally feed your plants. You don't have to go out and buy a product to pour in, I mean, if you want to enhance things, you can make your own inputs. Mm-hmm. But you can make those inputs out of things that grow in your yard already. I mean, people talk about blackberry bushes and how bad they are. And you can take those when they're fresh and green, mm-hmm. and you harvest them in the morning when they still have all the bio-life on them. Mm-hmm. And you chop them all up into little pieces and mix them 50-50 with brown sugar, and then put a cap on that and leave it for about 7 days in a bucket. And that will be some of the best nutrient you will feed your plant.
No,
because it's concentrated.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like the leaves,
but it's so easy. And how much?
It is.
How much does a pound of brown sugar? I mean,
yeah, a pound of brown sugar is what, $2? Unless you're doing it the day after Easter or something, that's $1. I mean, yeah, it's. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Personally, I like to keep the blackberry leaves because they're good herbal medicine. They're good for inflammation, if I remember right. But yeah, I mean, there's
right. We keep some.
But like if you mow your
they
yard,
get over.
If you mow your yard, I mean, your grass clippings are awesome compost material.
Yeah. We compost everything. Mm-hmm. We have very little waste. We actually take our garbage to the dump ourselves, and it's like $4 a month.
Yeah.
We don't waste anything. But it's just so easy to do, and it's so refreshing and nice. That's my meditation really is going out and working in the garden and just making life, making things grow.
Yeah.
And I don't, it's sad, but I'm just recently learning how spiritual that really is,
Well, that's
the whole
something
time
else
I've just been like, I'm just one with nature, I didn't realize that it was in my my ancestry.
We weren't really taught, growing up. I know, I'm from a farming community. I'm originally from Iowa, and gardening, 4-H, FFA, FHA, all of that was common, and it was just a way of life. There wasn't a lot of spirituality to it at all. It was just like, hey, we're growing food because we have to eat, and that's what we do here. But now looking back, it's like, oh, so that's why my dad did this, or that's why my grandmother did that. Oh, this makes sense now. But Nowadays, though, the farmers the mom and pop type farmers, to keep up with the big corporate shops, they almost have to use all those chemicals and stuff just to keep up. And unless they're doing specialty crops, which I think they should do more of, like Icorn wheat, for instance, is so much better for you than winter wheat or red wheat or white wheat, because the DNA molecule itself is slightly different, or the molecules are different. They have fewer DNA strands, and so it's less gluten to them because it's the heirloom wheat. But that's more popular now than it was, say, 10 years ago. But it's a lot of those heirloom crops they really need to get back to.
Yeah, I really think that's an issue with it's been going on for a long time too. I mean, we've been slowly kind of guided into all of this monocropping and this industrialized way of doing things, and it's really super damaging. Really, I mean, on everything, the bees, everything around these environments. When you take out the polyculture, everything that usually would grow in that environment, and you just plant one crop or 5 crops even, in a state. It's real. And you're forced to use those chemicals, like you said, to keep up with the.
Well, companion planting is something that really, I think, is not done enough of. Like, I'll plant
Seven Sisters.
Well, I'll put marigolds in my, in my garden just because they're good deterrents for different bugs. But I'll use, if I end up with aphids, I use diatomaceous earth because it's not bad. Generally, depending on what you're doing with it. But the different plants, you combine them differently, and they actually do better if they have their companion plants growing with them, rather than just, oh, hey, it's a row of tomatoes and next to it's a row of peppers and that kind of thing, and not really paying attention to the things that need to be done with them to make them grow better and with their companions, their buddies. We all do better in a group, really.
It's a natural IPM, like invasive pest management, and all those plants work together. They all trade exudates within their root systems between all the microbes and everything that are going back and forth. The microbes are feeding the plant roots, and they're getting things from different plants for different reasons and that sort of thing. Plus, all the, if you have, like you said, marigolds and things like that growing in your garden, and I use a crimson clover, and I like nettles for a cover crop. And I'll grow all that together, and the predator mites really like to feed on the pollen of a lot of flowers. So if you create an environment for predators, you won't have the bad bugs, because there's already so many predators in your garden that they can't take hold. Any of the bad stuff that tries to blow in or whatever, it can't take hold because it's full of predators. You know, so but everything works together that way. In the soil, everything is working together, and all you have to do is just basically plant things. A diverse garden. We call it polyculture. I follow a lot of Korean natural farming type growing methods, but it's really not as complicated as everybody says it is. It's not this big deal. There are all recipes out there, that you can follow and things you can do, but it's really just about growing with what you have on your property and making a natural soil food web. Absolutely. And a natural environment for everything to be healthy. And
Yeah, and it sure
It's a real simple concept. Uh,
it is simple, but society likes to complicate things because they all want the pretty stuff, and not just the real stuff. So, we are just about to go to our next
yeah, well, they
break.
want to put it in a bottle.
What's that?
I said they want to put it in a bottle and sell it to you.
Oh yeah, and mark it up just a little bit. Yeah, common sense unfortunately cannot be sold like that. So we're about to go to break, my dear, and then it'll be singing bowl time. Do you want to keep talking and hang on hold, or you want to wait and listen to the bowl?
If you want to keep talking to me, I'll call you back. If not, I'll be in chat or whatever.
All right.
It's up to you.
Well, I'm going to continue on after break, and if you get the urge to call back, do so. We'll be right back.
Will so mote it be the spell forever done.
Hello, my lovelies. How you doing? This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. And before we do anything else, we're going to do some singing bowl. You should go get your flute. just so you know, you can have music playing in your garden also. Plants like music.
Just plant spinach, it'll email it to you.
Do they have special playlists they prefer?
I like to listen to music by Popeye.
By Popeye. Mm-hmm. All right. Sure, okay. That's fabulous for them. So, anyways, just talking about the seasons, real quick. A lot of witch magic does revolve around the Wheel of the Year. The Wheel of the Year has 8 Sabbats: Yule, Imbolc, Ostera, Beltane, Letha, Lunasa, Mabon, and Samhain. And yep, those are all big deals. But if you're not into celebrating the Wheel of the Year, that's okay. It really is okay. It's another way to pay attention to the seasons and time as it passes. Now, the 5th one on the list here is, do you turn into a Viking warrior when your plants are sick?
Can you give a little definition of
I know, it's just like, really?
Like Floki?
So basically, see, when your plants get sick or has bugs or isn't quite right, do you get out the spray bottle of whatever, extra potting soil, clippers? What do you do to tend your plants, nurture them, make sure you've got the
Oh, you mean
the
like
fertilizer.
go to war for your...
Yeah, go to war for your plants. Make sure, like, for instance, if you see, like, aphids, for instance. I hate aphids.
Real quick, Titan says, all right, Spaces family, y'all have a great night. Mulch lovins. Mulch. We just happen to be talking about that kind of
mulch,
stuff.
Yeah, mulch. Mulch is really good for your garden.
Night, Titan.
Good night, Titan. So, yeah, mulch actually is very, very good. If you're in an area where rainfall is sporadic, mulch is a fantastic way to lock moisture into your soil, especially in places where water is highly regulated. I'm not going to name any names for states or areas, but if your water sources are restricted or if you're concerned about your water resources, mulch is a fantastic way to not only keep moisture in the soil, but also keep the weeds down. And
get back to what you were talking about.
No, this is, plants are sick. You want to mulch your stuff. Mulch, as it decomposes, adds nutrients to your soil. So, yes, mulch is good. But, being a garden witch or really into gardening and such, it's a big deal. A lot of garden witches or green witches have an herb garden. A lot of things that you might want to grow are things like basil, rosemary, thyme, oregano, chamomile, mint, lemon balm, dill, parsley, cilantro, tarragon, I lost my list, echinacea or purple coneflower, sage, lavender, rosemary, and mint are generally pretty easy to grow. Mint, you do have to be careful. It's so easy to grow that it becomes a weed. Yes, we do have daddy long legs. They're lucky.
The most dangerous spider in the world.
Yeah. And sage is really kind of a big deal. I grew sage last year. It turned out really good. But yeah, you're going to want to keep mint in a separate pot. My mint, I thought it died out winter before last because I didn't do anything with the pot, and lo and behold, it came back. So yeah, be careful with mint. It will grow all over the place, kind of like lavender will. So you got to pay attention. Oh, Justin, that is up to you, dear. I'm got some other information to go through. I don't know. Let me know. When you're doing your garden witchery, nothing is more optimistic than a seed as it is about to go into the dirt, because there's so much potential in that seed. So you want to, as you're getting ready to plant, set your intention. It's like, hey, I want this to grow and be the healthiest plant it can possibly be. Now, you cannot plant a bean seed and think you're going to get a tomato. It's just, that's not the way it works, guys.
May end up with giants.
But you want them to be the best seed that they can be, the best plant that you can be. Some plants do best in the new moon. Some do better in the full moon. The Farmer's Almanac actually has a lot of really good information there. Take advantage of it. If you do have a seedling, you're getting ready to plant seedlings. You know what? Seedlings are intentions. You're intending to have a real plant at the end of things and something that you can use. So make sure you're caring for your seedlings correctly. Some people you have are looking for garden or wanting fairies in your gardens or sprites to help pollinize and everything. That's not all bad. You just got to be careful what kind of fairies you're drawing in. And you can have like little fairy houses or fairy gardens.
Make them wear boots.
Okay. Why boots?
Because Ozzy said so.
Because Ozzy said so. Okay. If you start a miniature fairy garden to welcome the nature spirits or the holy cow, you can get all sorts of stuff from pretty much anywhere. Dollar store has them here. Hobby Lobby, Ben Franklin's, and all that. You can go to your local ceramic shop. You can paint them yourself. You can do any of that stuff. The fairy gardens are easy. Now, fairy gardens, you can have them in your home. You can have them in your garden. If you've got an old stump, you can decorate the stump so it looks like a little fairy garden. Let's see, Nightshade says, do you arranging herbs by the direction which they are assorted with or how much light and shade they may need? So I generally go with how much light or shade they need, or water, because some things don't need as much water as others. And you don't want to put something soggy with a plant that needs to dry out a little bit more. For instance, wasabi. If you want to grow wasabi, it needs to be flowing water.
It's got to be wet.
It's got to be wet and flowing water. So you probably don't want some of your drier weather, like sage, for instance, does like a little bit of wet, but not that much. So pay attention. Now, gardens often draw in all sorts of critters. Bees, butterflies, dragonflies, moths, ladybugs, etc. And part of the reason why I am not big on the bug killers and all that is because, for instance, when dandelions are one of the first plants to start spitting out flowers, bees need that. They really do. Or hummingbirds, the butterflies, any of those bugs really, really need that energy in the early or from the early flowers. And so let them grow. And dandelions are actually really, really good for you. There's so much good in a dandelion plant. Between the teas, the salad, you can teas with the flowers or the leaves or the roots. You can put the leaves on a salad. You can put the flowers on a salad. You can make wine with the flowers. The roots you can dry and grind up, and actually they have a little similar flavor to coffee, but it's better for you. They're doing studies now where they're showing that dandelion root is actually good for, or potentially good. They're not saying, yes, you should have this, but they're saying it's potentially good for fighting cancer or supporting your immune system as you fight cancer. So, I'm not a doctor. Don't play one on TV. So just evaluate that yourself as well. But that's the thing. So don't be afraid to look into the things that you might need or might want. Justin in the chat says, don't be shy with minerals and stones in your garden either. True statement there. So at work, we have a Schefflera, a plant which is an umbrella tree. It is about 18 years old. And it needs to be repotted because there's a little root bound and it just needs to be done. But if you guys have ever looked for a Schefflera tree, this thing's huge. The branches, it's normally kind of a vine kind of a thing, but we have it hung from the ceiling, so it's more of a tree-like structure. And it's about 30 to 40 feet long for the branch reach. It curls around the back of the building and up the stairs towards the front, and it's a big deal. But the reason why it's a big deal, the light is good, it's watered appropriately. It does get a little bit of fertilizer because it's indoors and it doesn't get a lot of the natural stuff. But it has a lot of quartz crystal. So, you know those stones that we carry around because we need that energy? Yeah, guess what? Our plants need it too. So quartz, very, very good. Amethyst, very, very good. The things that might dissolve in water, not so good. But quartz is just a booster in general, and will help draw that energy. You know, if you have your garden set up as a sacred space, that's awesome. And what I mean by that is it's like a spot in your garden where you go specifically to ground and connect yourself with spirit. You might want to do your rituals there, your Sabbats, your Esbats, that kind of thing. Maybe you have a natural altar in your garden. Or maybe you have just some statuary in there. That's all good things. And that part of your garden is going to be probably slightly set aside from, say, your potatoes and your onions. Maybe you have a fire pit or a bird bath or something there too. It's, you know, just the part of your garden that you're going to as a retreat. A lot of people have their herb gardens in that same space just because your herb gardens often are a little more structured than, say, your potatoes or your pumpkins. So, and sometimes we just need a retreat to the garden. Dirt is good for you. They're doing all sorts of studies now where if you are getting your feet in the dirt, it is helping you to ground, and the negative energy that you might carry around because, well, life, it soaks into the ground and you are pulling good energy up. And dirt in general is also really good for your immune system also. So yeah, it's really good. And you know, speaking of, you know, the witch garden part, or the your sacred space part of the garden, there's, you know, when it comes to, you know, what do you want to put in there? Okay, so Pinterest, a lot of information on Pinterest. But also talk to your local gardeners, your gardening shops. You don't have to tell them, hey, I'm a witch and I want to plant a witchy garden. Just, hey, I want to make sure I'm planting the right things for my space, and this is the theme that I'm going for. And often they're going to be really helpful in providing, you know, some guidance. But art is a big thing that often shows up in a witch's garden. Maybe it's wood carvings of, like, the Green Man, for instance. It may be images of the sun or the moon. Wind chimes, high-pitched tinkling chimes are often kind of good for your sprites that are drawn to the garden. Statues, just in general.
Like zombie gnomes? Zombie yard gnomes?
Sure, if that's what you want. But statuettes or statues that you might want, dragons, lions, fairies, those types of things. Garden art, it could be something that you're hanging on the fence to help, you know, dress it up a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting, I suppose. Often if you have like a bronze butterfly or even a bee on the wall, it may be a sign that of transformation of self, and like, hey, you know, pollinators, come visit me. Shrines, you can put a shrine in your garden. And you know, just if you do that though, you want to make sure it's weatherproof or maybe covered. Or it could be just a pile of stones or something that is, your touchstone, if you will, for your deities or the entities that you work with. Some people do like to put mirrors in their garden. Think some of the gazing balls, for instance, are often reflective. Just be careful that some of your gazing balls, if the sun is hitting those and then reflecting onto your plants, that they're not being extra scorched. So just be aware. If you do have a garden guardian, a spirit deity, or avatar, be sure to venerate it and feed it. So a lot of cemeteries, for instance, have guardian spirits. Often that's the first entity that was buried in the cemetery. And you're in the cemetery anyways, don't be afraid to leave an offering for that individual, because a cemetery really is truly just a really big garden. So just maybe a shallow dish in front of your shrine, or bird seed if you want to make like a bird feeder. Just get a pine cone, rub it all over with peanut butter, and then roll it in bird seed. And this is a good craft for your kids. Leave it out for the birds to eat or the animals to eat, and it's a really good way to give back to the nature around your garden. A witch's garden often has a nod towards eternity, just because so many garden trends come and go. Just like when Justin was talking earlier, the mono gardening that was so popular for so long, and we're kind of trending back towards gardening holistically. For instance, a lot of people like to park their cars in their front yard, so they might put down pavement or cement or something like that. That's sure, it's a great place to park, but you're taking away some of your green space, and we really do need that green space. Exotic plants, be careful with the exotic plants, because some of them, while they may be pretty, are going to be toxic to the wildlife around you. And that's not cool. That's not good. So just be aware of what you're planting to make sure that you're planting something that isn't going to, have the deer drop dead in your front yard. Because if I'm going to have a deer drop dead in my front yard, I don't want it to be because it was poisoned. Sometimes I may just want it to go in my freezer, so it shouldn't be poisonous, right? Be careful about turning your garden into just another room of your home. Even though, we all crave a little bit extra elbow room, especially when you've got kids that are growing and making noise and you just want them to go away and play outside. You just don't overstructure, I guess, a garden. It kind of takes away some of that natural, organic flow that a garden has. And if you can go with natural plants for your local ecosystem, that's so much better. And if you do order seeds from Wish, or you get random seeds from Wish,
don't plant them.
Be careful about those, because a lot of them are not going to be native to your area. And I don't know. Do you really want that kind of poppy growing in your front yard? So just be aware. In general, a witch's garden really should take care of the wildlife around you. Slugs, toads, bats, rats, all that kind of thing. You may not want to have them around. I mean, slugs are kind of gross. But, respect the animals. And bats love mosquitoes. If you're worried about mosquitoes, have bat houses. Or if you're worried about pollinators, maybe butterfly houses. Different things to support the local wildlife that's going to come in and help your garden. There's one of my favoriteest things about my grandmother's garden that she had in Iowa. You could hear the cicadas singing in the trees, the lightning bugs dancing across the yard. You could smell the roses as they were blooming, as you're eating, the tomatoes fresh out of the garden, or corn on the cob fresh out of the garden, and just that sense of completeness, and being in tune with your environment is just fantastic. Creature features, bug hotels, yeah, those are real. Like I said, the bat houses or the butterfly houses, those are really cool because they do draw things to your garden that will help enhance it. Birdhouses, you can get a birdhouse just about anywhere. Birds will nest in almost anything. Leave a hoodie hanging on your fence for too long, and you might end up with birds in it. So whether you're buying ready-made homes or making them yourself, just try to use natural materials as much as possible. If you do have strings or something out in your yard, make sure they're not synthetic, because birds will use those for their nests, and you don't want to have synthetic materials there. And if you are trying to help your local wildlife, make sure you do have the local plants also. If you don't know if it's a poisonous plant or bad for your area, here in the U.S., you can talk to Department of Lands. They'll tell you if something's banned in your region, so just be careful. If you do want to have a planned garden with different shapes or what have you, sedum is a low-lying ground cover. It comes in several colors, and you can plant it in a shape. So maybe you want to have your circle or a star or something, a pentagram, out in your garden. You can do that with the sedum. You can change or create that kind of art structure, if you will, with the different plants. Local plants provide berries. Like where I'm at, the elevation isn't quite right for huckleberries. As much as I love huckleberries, we need to be about 700 feet higher in elevation, which is sad. I mean, I could plant huckleberries, but they're just going to be bushes. So make sure you're planting things that you're going to get something out of, in addition to being good for your environment. Remember, only fertilized plants can actually reproduce. So in other words, be pollinated. So if you're not going to go out there and hand pollinate everything, bees and butterflies are going to want to come visit you. And so, have lavender, have brightly colored flowers. Sure, it may be a vegetable garden to raise vegetables, but add something with color, morning glories, or sweet pea flowers, or marigolds, or all of those. The plants that are anti-bug often are quite pretty as well. And just be aware. Have fun with it a little bit. And this is why some of those gardening catalogs are fun to have, because you can ooh, hey, this is an awesome color. What else does it do? And you do Google and you find out, hey, is this something we want? Or what is it you're trying to accomplish? Yes, you can have pretty gardens without having productive gardens, because sometimes that's just where you need to go to meditate. Really, truly. But yeah, you want to make sure you've got a broad spectrum of plants available. Bee-friendly plants, lavender is a big one. Lilac is awesome too. If you have enough space to have some light and dark or shade in your garden, it's often very good for the fae, if that's your thing. Just because they do need both the combination of the light and the dark to draw that energy. And as far as being a witch, yeah, herbs are a big deal. So yes. Yes, it is. Even if it's just a little bit of mint or catnip, start small if that's what you got to do. I get it. Hey, guess what? We're going to our last break. We'll be right back. It's been a really quick night. Holy cow. We'll see you in a minute.
Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, sing it unto me, the songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Tonight we're talking about gardening and green witchery. Because, you know what? Spring is on its way. It's not sprung yet, but it's definitely on its way. And I cannot wait at all. So, there's quite a few different things that are going to draw you as a green witch to the earth, to the plants. You may feel, like I mentioned earlier, a bigger recharge or energy boost just from being out in nature. And whether nature doesn't have to be, going hiking out in the mountains. It could be just going outside and sitting on the deck and letting the wind kind of blow across your face and soaking in the outside. Because, that's a real thing, and you really need it. It's just a great way to cleanse and recharge the batteries. Even if you're an extrovert and you need all the people all the time, sometimes you still need to unplug and just chill out, honestly. And as we are moving through February and towards March, a lot of folks are starting their seeds to get ready for their gardens. What kind of seeds are you getting? Are you getting plants going that, you want? I mean, what I mean by that, are you getting plants that you want to raise or just the ones you think you should raise? If you don't like zucchini, for instance, I strongly recommend against having 5 zucchini plants because that is all you will have. If you've never had zucchini, don't plant a lot of zucchini. Stick with 1. Zucchini is very, very prolific, just to warn you.
So is asparagus.
And squash.
Asparagus doesn't stop growing.
True, but asparagus, if you just go out and break it off so you can eat it, it has to start over, so it doesn't grow quite as fast or quite the same way. Some plants, by the way, it require 1 or 2 seasons to get them going. You can grow artichokes, and they're actually quite beautiful flowers. If you're going to have the artichokes growing, be prepared. That first season, you're probably not going to have much for harvest. You have to be patient and let it keep going. Pay attention to your zones and where you're at, because there are some plants that are just going to grow better in the southern climates than in the northern climates. Most places that sell seeds do have information on your zones. If you don't know where to find it, your Farmer's Almanac might help, or your local garden shops, where you're going to get your seeds anyways, or your plants, your starts. Garden clubs are a real thing. When in doubt, contact your local 4-H office. They can actually give you a lot of information. And, there's so many different things that you can plant that are not just good for you, but also witchy in nature. A lot of your herbs, your herb lore, it translates from being a green witch right into kitchen witchery. There's so many things you can do in the kitchen if you've got a good supply of herbs. And, not all herbs are going to be appropriate for growing where you're at. And sometimes you want to try something new just because you want to try something new and figure out, hey, is this something I can do or not? If it works, cool. If it doesn't, okay. It didn't work. At least you tried. Don't be afraid to plant something. Worst that could happen is it doesn't work out, or it works out too well. I don't know. It depends on how you want to look at that. One year I planted a couple of tomato plants. I didn't really want tomatoes. I wanted the tomatoes to grow up big and hide the icky flower beds because they were just they were in really rough shape, and I knew I wasn't going to have time to take care of them. So I just used a couple straw bales and parked some tomato plants in there. I had tomatoes coming out my eyeballs. The dog ate tomatoes. There are so many tomatoes. So yeah, just be careful what you wish for. Yeah, I don't know why those things grew so much. I didn't even water them that often. So yeah, look for some creative ways to grow things. If you have a yard, for instance, that you can't just till up to turn into a garden space, container gardening is a real deal. And sometimes it's easier to do container gardening because you're keeping it on a little bit smaller scale, and you're less likely to suddenly find yourself with an acre of peas that you need to harvest in one day before they go bad. If you don't have containers, or you don't want to do containers, you can do hay bales or straw bales. Straw bales are actually really good because they do soak up the moisture, and as they decompose, they're adding those nutrients right back into the soil, and it's just a really, really easy way to grow stuff. If you're worried about freezing, honestly, a milk jug with the bottom cut out of it is a really easy way to create a little instant hothouse for your starts, because you just put the milk jug over the plant and away it grows. It kind of seals in the heat. You can also use tires, for instance, because tires soak up the heat and they slowly let that energy back out into the soil overnight. And there's all sorts of different ways to raise a garden or grow a garden in your area with the resources that you have available. If you're worried about it, put something out on Facebook or Instagram or whatever your social media is and say, hey, listen, I want to do this thing and I don't know how to do it. Often you'll get more help than you really wanted, and some people that just should have put their keyboard away before they hit enter. So anyways, looks like Justin has a question for me. So Justin is going to be back on the air. So hello, Justin. You had a question.
Hey, yeah. Well, I've got a couple questions, but
okay.
Totally agree with the gardening thing. There are resources everywhere. I mean, if anything you want to look up is on YouTube somewhere.
Yes.
Or on some form or whatever. There's no excuse for not learning.
If you can type what you're looking for into a search bar, you will get an answer. If you don't, ask me.
Right.
And I will have an answer for you. So yeah.
Yeah, you can you just type in whatever and then click on image and see if it's there.
Right.
Somehow you'll get a link to what to figure out. It's not that hard. And really, if you just think about things naturally, you usually have the correct answer somewhere in your head. It's just people go to the easy button,
Mm-hmm.
and they just say, well, I can't do it. I'm just going to go to the store and get it, buy it, or whatever.
Yeah, it's just not as good for you.
But I wanted to pick your brain
mm-hmm.
because, then, like I say, it's only been I've always had some, a lot of spiritual thoughts and everything, but I have been tossed around, as a person. I was basically kidnapped by my father and given to my grandmother when I was really young, 2 years old, and then went to live with a stepmom that my dad was hooked up with, but my dad took off, and then I'm with this other family that I grew up. I think that's mine or whatever. I've just been tossed around, so I haven't really had and I ended up getting custody. My mom got custody of me, and she's super duper religious, very Christian,
mm-hmm.
deep South. I grew up in Arkansas, and so I rebelled from that. So this whole spiritual thing to me has been a monopoly of mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
We're going through some weird stuff here in this old house on the side of the Columbia River in Rainier, and we know it's spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that I've said to people, everyone wants to dismiss things as mental disabilities, and I need, not me, but certain subjects in my family need medication and all of this. But there's really strange things going on in this house, and I don't know how to find where it's coming from. I know we've been doing all this cleansing. We have singing bowls. We got a whole set of singing bowls. Our kids bought us all of this stuff. We've got, and we've been buying all of this stuff, and we've been burning all these herbs and growing everything and trying to make things as natural and clean as we can. But there's a darkness coming from somewhere, and we don't know how to find that. It's here somewhere in this old fucking house on this property.
All right, so
where do I look? Do I look for like divination, like how to douse a negativity or whatever? I mean,
yeah, you can. If you're familiar with dowsing,
can I buy a Garrett demon detector?
So you can do divination for the energy source. You can. What you might want.
How do I do that?
I'm just looking here.
My wife is listening too while she's making a drink.
All right, so have you ever done divination before, or with dowsing?
No, well, I've doused for water and metal.
Well,
but never.
Same concept.
Never spirits.
Same concept. You just have to set your intention for what it is you're searching for prior to doing it. You'll probably want to have black tourmaline in your pocket for protection. And sounds like it's a really negative. Yeah, black tourmaline is very protective. So have that with you. So yes, you can douse that way. You can also trying to.
Well, wait a minute. Douse what way? Like the way I'm used to dowsing for water or metal? Or
yes. Whatever? Yep, the same way. But you'll be going through your house instead.
Well, usually I douse for metal with a Garrett AT Pro or the Gold Monster 1000.
Gotcha.
If I was going to douse for water, I would get a dry stick with a fork and put pressure on that stick and wait for it to pull down toward the moisture, because even as long as it's not been dead for too long, the wood will try to find water.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So you can.
Well, that's an easy concept.
Yeah, you can do the same.
But how do I apply that to?
Same thing.
How do I apply that to the spiritual?
Same thing. You instead of searching for water, you're setting your intention to search for that energy. Because it's just setting your intention. Instead of looking for water or focusing on the water, it's like, hey, I want water. No, this time you're gonna be saying, or mentally, I am looking for the energy source, whatever it is. Let's see. Trying to remember what the combination was. If you put I think and I'd have to double check my notes, and I don't have them on me, so I may have to just email you. But you can do like a water combination. It's like water and salt, and I don't remember quite what it is, but pink salt or the Himalayan salt. And if you put it in a room and the energy is really strong or bad, the water will turn colors, or it'll start it'll turn dark. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, so it's I had it stuck somewhere. Hold on. It's downside of having to hold on to the microphone. I can't just type one-handed.
Yeah, we've just had, and it's been, since we've moved out here. It's a beautiful property, beautiful house.
Mm-hmm.
It's an 1890 Victorian, right on the Columbia River. That we have beaches in front of our house.
That's awesome.
We have a beautiful, the biggest river in sorry for the French, and the whole, Pacific Northwest. It's like the largest river. We're like 48 miles from the coast.
Yep, that's a big river, and you get a lot of wind. So, what you need is 2 tablespoons of white vinegar and granulated salt, and 16 ounces of filtered water. And you'll want to mix it all together for at least a minute and leave it in a clear glass. And I would do 1 in each of the rooms. And if you leave it alone for a day, a full day, and you'll see that the salt rising in the glass, and it'll sometimes form a crystalline structure, and it looks pretty wild, just to warn you. And it's soaking up that negative energy, because that energy could be attached to almost anything in the house. And it's an older house. It may be attached to the house itself or the foundation. Because a lot of those older houses do have things attached to them, because they've been around long enough that they've seen the cycle of life come and go. They've seen birth and death and everything in between.
Found all these artifacts in the walls and in the attic and everything. Mm-hmm. We found a bunch of receipts. We found all this. It's really weird shit. We found a lot of medical tools and things, and dolls and books and all kinds of stuff in the wall. When we started remodeling this house, we had to gut it. It was pretty much trashed on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
There was 5 dump trucks full of garbage that came out of this house.
Wow.
Ew, goodness.
The walls were full of artifacts, old stuff, like kids' books and like fancy gloves. But yeah, that was shoes and the snake oil salesman bottles, like old Henry's cure-all elixir, and it had the ingredients like on the back. It was like chloroform, cocaine.
Yeah. So some
really,
of those things.
I mean, it's an old house, and these things are, there was a lot of medical gear, and we sent a lot of the letters and receipts and everything that we got to a genealogist friend of ours, mm-hmm. and she went through it and found this family that had lived here, and they were morticians. They were going to school to be morticians when they lived here in this house.
Yeah, that's not creepy at all.
And I think that's why we got a lot of the medical stuff, like glass syringes and these like silver corrective braces and stuff that went on people.
So that's probably
it's probably worth a lot of money, but we got boxes of this crap that we pulled out of the walls, before we started drywalling, and everything.
Yeah, and that's a very, very macabre.
But this house has been through history.
So
Yeah.
a
But
lot of,
somewhere there's something.
I was gonna say a lot of that medical stuff that you found probably has some of that negative energy attached to it because yeah, you don't know the origin story of any of that equipment or how it was used, and that it's just in the random walls is kind of freaky. It's like a bad horror flick. Don't go in the basement. Um, so yeah, I would
Well, we
do
pulled it.
the
We pulled
salt.
it all out of the wall.
Yeah,
All of us. I pulled all the bottom boards out and pulled everything out of the walls. There was one room that it looked like there was somebody bedridden for a long time upstairs, and they were just throwing cigarette pouches and spent matches and books and all kinds of stuff in this one section of the wall.
yeah.
So somebody was like bedridden upstairs, just smoking cigarettes
So
or tobacco in some way,
that
and
room
putting all this shit down the wall.
probably has
I
a
mean,
little bit of extra energy.
So much weird life going on.
Yeah. So yeah, that room probably has a little bit of extra negative energy. Just a hunch. Those that are bedridden are often not full of
That's our
positive
bedroom.
stuff. I would. Nightshade in the chat room says, "Let the energy know that you're sending it on its way, unless it's there for healing." But yeah, you can banish it. Definitely. If that doesn't work, let me know. I would put tourmaline in every room, along with some quartz. But I would start off with that salt. So 2 tablespoons salt, 2 tablespoons vinegar, and 16 ounces of water. It'll do it every day for about a week and see what happens and see how that energy changes. And when you're doing the cleansing with the smoke, for instance, make sure you have wherever it is you end up, there's a window or a door open so that negative energy can flow out. You can write sigils in water, or like soapy water, or in chalk around your door frames or your windows if you need to. That's a big deal. Selenite is very cleansing. Maybe sprinkle some selenite here and there, or selenite and the tourmaline. The pink salt, if you're going to be gone for a little bit, or the Himalayan salt, sprinkle it all over the floors and vacuum it up when you get done, or when you come back for the weekend or something. And whatever you do when you're cleaning like that, once you get it all picked up, you want to take it all the way out. You don't want to leave it in the house because of that energy will leach right back out of the dirt and back into the house. So you can straight up tell the energy in there that you like, okay, you're here, we get it. If you're going to be the roommate, you have to be a healthy, positive energy, or you need to go away. If that doesn't work, or the salt and vinegar doesn't work, send me an email, let me know. I have some other resources that I could probably refer to you, because you don't need that negative stuff hanging around and causing you more stress. And it's, I understand you've kind of been drugged through the muck as far as religion goes, and unfortunately a lot of negative stuff has been done in the name of religion, and maybe let that go a little bit too. Just breathe it out. Remember to ground yourself and breathe it out anytime you're getting vexed with your family, because they're going to keep trying to push it down onto you. And remember, spirituality is different than religion. You can be spiritual without being religious. So regardless of what path you're following, whether it's pagan or Christian or whatever. So I hope that helps. If it doesn't,
Yeah, absolutely.
send me an email, Justin. Let me know. Or reach out to me. I think you've got my contact information. If not, I'll send it to you. So, but we're just about done for the night. Holy cow, it's been a quick night.
I have your phone.
Yeah, give me a call if that doesn't work. I would do the salt and vinegar water for a week and see what happens, and we can go from there. I'd start there though. Okay.
Awesome, definitely. And I'm glad you're doing this live because I can go back and watch it and write all this stuff down because we're standing outside listening to you right now.
I understand. All right, my dear. Well, I hope that helps. If not, again, reach out to me. So we're done for the night. Duke will be on next, talking about Bigfoot type stuff. And we will be back on tomorrow night. I don't know. We'll try maybe talk kitchen witchery tomorrow because I think it would flow well from green witchery. So yeah. So I hope you guys have a lovely evening. A merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. I hope you guys have a fantastic Friday night, Saturday morning, depending on where you're at. And we'll see you tomorrow.
O Lord, within the sun, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever done.